Okay, we're recording? Alright, cool. Hey, it's Pasi, Poutanen, founder here at nosu.io, and we've helped over 200 realtors to generate 5 to 20 listing appointments per month through a proprietary strategic personal branding methodology. Today I want to talk about how you can double or triple your listings by actually doing less in your marketing. Now, as a realtor in 2022, that may sound a little contradictory because a lot of the times our instinct is obviously to do more marketing when we get more clients, right? But the truth is, and the reason I want to talk about this is because as a real estate agent, you look out there and you see what other realtors are doing. Maybe you watch some YouTube videos, maybe you read some articles. You're forming a set of beliefs in terms of, what do you believe is a good way to do marketing. And the longer and the more you do marketing, the better you learn to separate signal from the noise. And after working with hundreds of realtors out there over the last half a decade, I learned to clearly see what works and what doesn't work. So that's the skill I've been fortunate enough to develop over the last years for real estate marketing through research, through experimentation, and obviously by spending a lot of time and money on mentorship, coaching from the best people in the world at this. Something that really stands out to me right now in today's marketplace is that there's a lot of things most agents are actually doing that they would be better off actually if they stop doing them in their marketing. So that might sound a little contradictory, but again, what I mean by that is there are certain things that cause people to actually want to list their house with you, and there are certain things that cause people to actually not want to list their house with you. So I want to share with you the 5 most important things that if you simply stop doing them right now today, you go out there, you cut them off, your marketing will actually be exponentially better. And these things apply to your social media marketing. Obviously, Facebook, Instagram, LinkedIn. If you're doing YouTube, the emails you're sending out, and also really any marketing you're doing. Even if you're doing postcards, mailers, or even if you're doing cold calling, these things also actually apply to this as well. Before I dive into this, I want to just preface this quickly by saying that the outcome you want from your marketing is not just getting contact information or just getting followers or anything like that. The outcome you want from your marketing is to get homeowners to see you as their number one choice. So ultimately, whether or not you get the listing is really not dependent if they're your lead or not. It's only dependent on the fact if they're having the need to sell their house and the fact that if they see you as a number one choice for a real estate agent when they're ready to do that. So your marketing, again, it's not about the contact information. It's not about any of those things. It's really about managing your reputation. It's about getting local homeowners to want to actually work with you. And in terms of doing that, they absolutely need to like you. They need to see you as an authority and ultimately believe you're the right solution for their exact situation in their lives. So that whole process that I just talked about, that's what we call strategic personal branding. Doing these 5 things we're going to dive into right now, you actually end up hurting your personal brand. You actually end up hurting your reputation. You end up building a bad perception of you, and that's obviously the exact opposite of what we want to happen. And that's why I wanted to bring this video forward, talk about these things. This is going to massively help you pretty much without doing anything. So number 1 is value taking. And the easiest way to explain this is through analogy. Imagine you walking on a street, going about your day, and a homeless person comes to you and they're like, give me money right now. Obviously, you understand everybody has empathy. If a person is homeless, you want to help them. But a lot of the times, if they're very aggressive with it, it actually causes you to not, want them to give the money. If somebody is very desperate, that usually causes people not to want to do this. And so the same applies on social media, right? Again, that's a little controversial example, but on social media, a lot of times, a lot of real estate agents, everybody wants to make money, right? Everybody wants to get listings. And the way they go about doing it is that they post a lot of transactional posts. They post marketing that really looks like marketing, and it's kind of like right in your face. And every single ad and every single post that they do is kind of like only about just getting the sale, right? It's really like even an advertising wise, the ad just look like an ad. You just see it right in your face. So what you want to do with your marketing is to do the opposite of that, and that's a little counterintuitive. Especially if you're in the real estate world, we kind of get taught this mentality of always be closing, always be selling, right? And if you're not selling, you're not making money. If you're not doing cold calls, you're not making money, right? Everybody kind of says that to you. But on social media, the opposite is true. So meaning, if you're always selling, you're always closing on social media, that means that your profile is dying, that means your list is dying, that means you're really getting very low engagement on your post, really getting really bad results on your ads. Because as you can imagine, if you're very transactional with your ad, it's only about you in the ad, why would the person click on it, right? It doesn't really make sense. Or if your posts, all your posts on social media are very transactional, why would anybody want to follow you? Why would anybody want to consume your content? So on social media, you actually want to do the opposite. So again, this is counterintuitive, but if you do these things, it's actually going to help you get massively better results. Number one, your reach-wise. Number two, your click-through rates are going to be better. But most importantly, really, the better client types you're going to be getting. You're going to be getting better quality people. You're going to be getting warmer leads. You're going to get those hot leads everybody's kind of looking for. So the way to do this is provide value instead, right? So provide relevant information, provide entertainment for people, provide a sense of belonging, positive emotions, and really the opportunity to engage in a community. Make people think that, oh, this makes sense, or that's nice, or oh, I always wanted to know about this, or yeah, I can definitely relate to that. Insightful, right? Or that's what I was actually wondering. That's what was my exact experience with this. How did this guy know, right? That's the outcome you want to create with your marketing in 2022, and that's going to massively separate you from the pack. Because again, they're kind of like that homeless person, because everybody knows when we sell a house, we make a lot of money. That's great and everything. But again, the way you do this is by not being desperate, but by getting other people to come to you and to value you and your services more. So number one is the value taking. So ask yourself, anytime you make a post on social media or you even create a paid advertisement, are you taking value from the person or are you giving them value? Now, this is going to massively improve your results. And if your post or your ad, anything like that you're doing, even your drip campaign is taking value, delete it, do it again, and make it so that you're actually giving value. So number two is vagueness. What I mean by vagueness, essentially just not having a clear marketing and content strategy in your business. A lot of times people who are not really used to using social media in terms of their business, they're going to kind of end up doing this mistake where, one day they might talking about their relatives, or one day they might talk about their dog, another day they might put a post about real estate, another day they might talk about XP Realty. Sometimes you see people when posting politics or cryptocurrencies or whatever. There's nothing wrong with those things. There's an element of personal branding and personal connection you want to have. But at the end of the day, if you don't have a clear red line with your content, it's going to be very hard to follow you as a person on these platforms. As an example, let's say you watch YouTube channel, you follow YouTube channel, and the YouTube channel, as a homeowner, the reason you're following it is because you want to learn more about Denver, right? You're moving from New York and you want to move into Denver. And that channel provides you useful information about, let's say, living in Denver, buying a house in Denver, these types of things. But then suddenly you see a video about a dog, or you see a video about like random things that just have absolutely no connection to the reason you are actually following that channel. It's going to cause you to be very confused. And confusion is absolutely, of course, last thing you want to have to happen in your marketing. So instead of doing that, what I recommend you doing is, number one, to select a niche. Now that niche, it's going to vary based on your market. That's something actually we help our clients to do, where they're able to select their exact niche they're going to go after, and that's going to be the optimal for their market size and all those different demographics and psychographics involved. But once you select the niche, you want to craft your content around that and create a clear kind of like red line in terms of your strategy, in terms of moving people from a stranger, moving them into a client. So instead of being vague, be very specific and tailor your content around that exact client avatar you want to attract. So number three is going to be soullessness. What essentially means is just not having your own voice behind your marketing. It's that person who's blasting automated content every day on their social media. There's nothing wrong with that, but as an example, one of our client strategists was doing strategy sessions, and he had three realtors he was talking to consecutively. And what happened is that every one of those three realtors had actually the same exact post on their Facebook feed on that same day at the same time. Now, nothing wrong with that again, but people today are incredibly sensitive to spam. So if you post random, like automated content, as an example with software, you will be labeled as spam in people's minds, but also in the social media algorithms. You probably noticed that anytime you go on a profile or a page on Facebook, and if it has like automated content, in almost every case it has 0 likes or zero comments, 0 engagement. And the reason why that happens is also because the algorithm can actually see if it's automated content or or not. So instead of doing that, again, create your own marketing, create your own content, and that's going to allow you to be, again, that person who's posting something unique, something rare, and something valuable to people. So it's not just about giving people like logical information, because at the end of the day, if you're going on Facebook, you're going on YouTube, you're going on Instagram, you're not out there to do like PhD research about the real estate market, right? You're out there to connect with people, and when you're able to tell stories, something that actually happened in your market, something that actually happened in your work, that's going to be a little raw, right? Because a lot of times when the real world, there can be challenges, there can be different types of personalities. You know, it can also be very intimate, but if you do that, you're going to get people to know who you are. And when people know who you are, that's going to allow them to connect with you on that personal level. And when you connect with people on that personal level, a lot of the sales resistance, a lot of commission objections, a lot of those different things are just going to fade away. Because again, as an example, I've said this a lot of times, but 33% of the listings go based off referrals, according to National Association of Realtors. So that just tells you how important it is not just to give people logical information, but get them to connect with you on that personal level, because that's going to create a massive amounts of trust and massive amounts of likability factor as well, meaning you're going to be able to attract your ideal clients to you. Number 4 is going to be randomness. Now, before we dive into this point, I want to give you some statistics in terms of how the home selling process works. So 65% of the people are homeowners. Again, this is just national average. It can depend on your market, all those different details, but 65% of people in general are homeowners. A lot of people out there are actually homeowners. Now, people move on average every 13 years. Again, this number will vary based on your market. Some markets are, 7 years, 8 years, but on average, people move on every 13 years. So as an example, let's say you have 1,000 random people in your audience locally following you on social media. That means that there's approximately 650 homeowners in your audience. And from that audience, you'll have about 50 people who are going to be moving in that audience. So there's going to be 50 people who are going to be essentially selling their house in the next 12 months. Well, we have 50 people, right, that are going to be selling their house in the next year. That's great and everything. But what you need to remember is that those people, when they're ready to sell their house, they need to remember you and to consider you to be the number one choice, right? So what I want to talk about here is if you're very random with your marketing, right? If you're very vague, if you're posting like random posts here and there, it's going to cause you to be not as relevant to them. Meaning people are going to be having a hard time grasping who you are, and people are going to be having a hard time understanding how you're relevant and how you're relevant to their needs. So if your social media posts, they don't have that clear red line about who you are, who you help, and how you help them, people won't remember you. And remembering is going to be the first step for you to become the number one go-to person, essentially being somebody's realtor. So number 4 will be the randomness point. Avoid being random in your marketing. Be consistent and be clear about who you are and what you do. So number 5 would be statements of superiority. Now, real estate industry has a culture of kind of shouting different cliches, right? A lot of people may be posting things like, we're the top producing team, or, we've sold $13 million this year, or, hey, I'm your go-to guy, I'm your number one go-to realtor. Now, like we discussed, you need to be the top choice. You need to be the go-to realtor, but that's not going to be happening by kind of like saying that to them, right? That just doesn't work that way. So ultimately, you want to detach yourself from this way of communicating. If you're a real estate agent, you're kind of like in a small bubble, right? Because you know a lot of realtors, you see a lot of realtors, you talk about real estate all the time. From the homeowner's perspective, they're really not in that bubble. They're kind of like in their own bubble that they live in. And if they see something like, we've sold $30 million this year, we're the number one team, or more words, they see you shouting, I'm your go-to guy, call me right now when you're ready to sell your house, that's obviously going to cause that number one point to come true, where it kind of seems weird, kind of seems value taking, a little bit desperate. So avoid saying that, and instead, kind of like how we covered in the last video, instead of saying it to people, demonstrate that to people. Show people behind the scenes of selling that house. Show people behind the scenes of running your team. Show people the actual thing you're trying to communicate, and that's going to cause people to actually believe, and that's going to cause people to actually see that point you want to bring forward. So if you want to be the go-to guy, don't say that you're the go-to guy. Show people that you're the go-to guy through your actions and through your marketing. So that's it for this video. I want to summarize these points for you. So number 1, Avoid value taking, provide value instead. Number 2, avoid being vague, avoid talking to everybody, select a niche and focus on that niche. Number 3, soullessness, avoid being soulless person, random automated robot or anything like that. Have a soul in your marketing, be personal, tell stories, be a little raw. And number 4 is randomness. So again, avoid being too random, going in all different directions. Have a clear red line in your social media content strategy, clear red line in your marketing strategy in order to be the somebody's number 1 choice. And lastly, number 5 is statements of superiority. So avoid having those cliches where you're shouting from the top of the mountain, where you're number 1 go-to guy and all those different things. Instead, show that to people and they're going to trust you a lot more. So that's it for this video. Hope you enjoyed it. I'll see you on the next one.